Good morning from Kleinshire. It's a Saturday morning, a very frigid one. The temperature dropped down to below 20 degrees and the wind is blowing. I'm down here with my little helper in the basement because even on a cold morning like this in late March, we're thinking about the coming growing season. So what are we up to today? Sweet potatoes are a little bit different from regular potatoes. The regular potatoes, what we do is we put them in the ground with the buds, the eyes on them, and basically they grow from the eyes. Sweet potatoes require a little more work, and I haven't actually done this since we homesteaded in North Carolina. We just have purchased our sweet potato slips, but this year I want to get back into it. What you have to do is you have to grow slips, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick the root end down, and I'm looking at these roots that are coming off the bottom here. You look for the pointy end with little roots coming, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to take canning jars, I'm going to take toothpicks, and I am going to suspend the potato in the jar like this, and basically slips are going to grow out the top of the potato. And when they're pretty well grown after a few weeks, I'm going to take the slips off of the top of the potato and I'm going to stick them in another jar where they're actually going to develop the roots from which they grow. Or at least that's the plan. It's late March. This is a process that should take a few months. And if I do this right, I'll have slips that are ready for planting in the spring. I've sorted through what's left of the sweet potatoes and I'm looking at them. I'm looking for spots, like this one has some mold there. One of my larger ones here. And I'm looking for sweet potatoes that I can make slips from for the next year's crop. I'm thinking that something a little more curved like this isn't going to fit in the jar so well. Looking for something like this. Nice root at the bottom. 8. There. These ones should do the trick. While I'm down here, I'm looking in another pail. There's another root crop in here that I wanted to look at today. I'll explain this more just a little bit later, but let me bring it upstairs too. So what am I doing here? I'm looking at my sweet potato and I'm asking which end is the rooted end and which end is the top. And there are a few things that I'm looking for. The first is the rooted end is going to be pointier. And you can see obviously this is pointed. This one's an easy one. The other thing, the other clue is if you can see the roots here, just little roots forming. 2 clues that this end is the end to stick in the water. So what I'm doing is I'm putting it in my wide mouth jar and I am sticking toothpicks in, which will suspend it over the mouth of the jar. Three toothpicks for most of them. I want to leave enough of the potato above the water that my slips can grow from it. But at the same time, I'm anticipating the water level is going to go down and I'm going to be refilling it. So I want to leave enough below the surface that the potato is always in the water. This one's a little easier. Tip, plenty of roots. We may end up with a lot of slips if I do this right. But we like sweet potatoes. I'm not too worried about having too many slips. The other thing is you can always give them away. I'm on our sun porch where we start things, and with the wind howling outside and it being about 20 degrees, I'm just thinking it's not quite warm enough on the windowsill where I wanted to set these. So I hope Rosemary doesn't mind, but I think I'm gonna set these jars in her little greenhouse here where the plastic cover catches a little more of the heat and keeps it in. Let's hope she doesn't mind. I'll be putting these on the windowsill eventually, but it's so cold that I think they'll find a happier home in here for now. You may be wondering what was in the other pail. Well, let me show you. Those who know me know that I enjoy a little flavor in my food, and one of the things I enjoy doing every fall is digging up horseradish, which grows like a weed around here. And the thing is, you can make a lot of horseradish at once and you stick vinegar in it, but it loses its flavor over time despite vinegar acting as a stabilizing agent. So I had this idea, well, let me put some of the roots in a bucket with some dirt and let's see how they endure the winter. Maybe I can make some more. I'm not sure it worked out. You can see that the horseradish started to sprout, started to grow downstairs despite the dry soil I put it in, and it desiccated a little bit. But I'm gonna wash some of these up and peel them and see if maybe they can be revived. We'll find out, I guess. Third, I think this is more of an outside job despite the weather. It looks like the farther down into the dirt I go, the better the roots look, the less dried out they are. This is promising. Oh, this doesn't, well, it's a little soft. We'll see. Like I said, it's an experiment. Can you preserve the roots over the winter? Enjoy fresh horseradish in the spring as well as the fall. This looks really good. Look at that. It's cold out here. The more I look at this, the more excited I am. This is quite the pile of horseradish. There were a few that were softer. I think it's a bit like a potato when the potato starts to go bad. These are the ones that started growing. The shoots took the energy and the tuber is softer. So there were a few like that probably from near the top, but most of these are firm and look really good. Horseradish is an amazing thing. If you've never had it before, you should definitely try it. And I don't mean the stuff from the store. I mean, get a fresh horseradish root. Buy it if you don't have access to it otherwise. It's pretty innocuous like this. My eyes are starting to water just a little bit, not too much yet, but the real action for horseradish begins when it's crushed or grated. There is a compound, a bit like garlic, that is produced when it's crushed and the oil is released. And the effect, if you've never experienced it before, is like none other. The boys will dare each other to sniff it, and it's a burning sensation. It's something that invades your nostrils with a great deal of power, but it's not like a jalapeno, well, not a jalapeno, a spicy pepper. It doesn't last, it doesn't stick around, it dissipates pretty quickly, so fairly harmless in the end, but a very powerful thing on a temporary level. Something, because it dissipates so quickly, you don't put it in a dish and bake it down, because all that powerful, tangy, burning deliciousness goes away very quickly. It's something you add as a condiment at the end, or you grate onto the top of a dish if you're into grating a fresh root. So just me. I'll eat most of this myself, if you can believe it. It's one of those things which is very healthful, very good for you. The in-laws like it. They'll get a jar or two, I'm sure. But mainly, this is just for me. I'm the only one who can take it, I guess. Do you guys like horseradish?
No.
Why not?
It's too spicy.
Too spicy? Well then.
I only eat hot sauce.
Well. More for me, I guess. I've got a Vitamix full of horseradish, all diced up and ready to go. There's a process to this, because as soon as it is pulsed or grated, there's the chemical reaction where that compound is released. And the fact is that it's something that is powerful in the moment. In fact, I should probably wear a mask or something. It's going to burn. You're probably going to see me cry. But for preservation, the way that you stop it, the way that you stop the chemical reaction and stabilize it so the heat remains, is that you add salt and vinegar. I just have standard store white vinegar here. Sometimes for things I'll use our own homemade cider vinegar. The fact is, I don't know what the acidity of our vinegar is, and I want to make sure this is actually preserved, and therefore I'm going to use the store vinegar, which I know is acidic enough to do the job. First thing I'm going to do, though, is add a little water to assist the blender. Make sure that it is able to take the tough root and not burn out the motor. Not too much water, enough to moisten things. Oh, there's the top. I can't even get close to it. I'm crying. Oh my goodness. So we're gonna let that sit just for a few minutes, and then I'm gonna add the vinegar and the salt to stabilize it. But oh, it's powerful already. So a few minutes later, I'm not breathing directly in. I'm gonna add some salt. Usually I'd use canning salt, but I don't have any. This isn't iodized though. Generally, you don't want the iodized salt for anything that you're going to consume later on. I'm going to add some salt. Ooh. That's probably good. Vinegar. Oh. I think that's probably good for that, but I can always add more if I need to. And then let's pulse it again. Oh, I didn't think I'd get so emotional over this. I think I'm gonna have to end this portion of the video a little early. I just wanted to say a little bit about, I'm storing it in these jars. If you do this and you do store it like I do, old mustard jars are great. These are designated jars. Don't think that you're gonna reuse the plastic lids, because the horseradish will permeate. So these are my designated jars for the horseradish. They're not something we use for other things. And I will store this in the fridge, and with that vinegar in there, it should retain its power into the summer, I hope. And then I'll make some more from fresh root in the fall.